Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. Let me get this out of the way. Give me a moment. There we go. Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I'm your host, Willie Bragg. I'm a little bit late, but not as late as I thought I was going to be. I've been on vacation this week, trying to take a mental break from work. So, and that's always been most welcome there. So, anyway, I hope everybody's doing well. And as I said, I'm going to kind of be all over the place as far as a live streaming this week, and all over the place I am. I have a couple. I have two more live streams I may or may not do tonight, or I may do one more. I have three that I'm planning to do today, but I may end up doing two. But if I have the energy, I may do three. So you never know. So let me go ahead and give my shout outs to everyone here. We have Miguel, and we have Warren talking about the clock tease. I do apologize. We have Max RJ. Warren, get to work. I want my stories, and I want them now. I'm sure he'll be here tomorrow night. Well, online tomorrow night for the secret show. So y'all don't miss that, okay? Commissary Kate says hello. Oh, she says, hey there, Willie. Extra, you too, Max. And do we have anybody else here? If they are, they're lurking about. So anyway, I hope everybody's doing well today. I'm right now, as I said, I've been on vacation this week, so just kind of been taking a mental break from everything. Lord knows I need it. I got a lot of sleep today, and I slept pretty much the entire day because Wednesday night I went to a concert and enjoyed the concert. I actually filmed it on Facebook and a couple of times, and as I said, yesterday I went on a road trip. I went to the coast because I just also needed to get away from this area for a few days. So all is well, I guess you could say. So I want to talk about what I like to call Bernie Sanders, Britain's better Bernie Sanders. Jeremy Corbyn, because a story slipped by regarding Jeremy Corbyn that I should have been aware of, and I was like, oh, I'm a little bit late for that story. How can I save grace and share that story with you all? Well, maybe the way to do this is to basically explain why I refer to Jeremy Corbyn as Britain's better Bernie, and probably the best way to do this is to basically make the comparison between the two first. So that's what we'll do here.
All I know is that we're getting a lot of support because we're putting forward a coherent alternative view which direction the Labour Party might be able to follow.
You never thought the Labour Party, did you, in your wildest dreams? Let's see.
The American people are engaged. We're getting tens of thousands of people visiting our website, sanders.senate.gov. Every day, people want to know what's going on. We should be embarrassed that we are for 1 second talking about a proposal which gives tax breaks to billionaires while we are ignoring the needs of working families, low-income people, and the middle class.
I would want the super rich to be able to pay properly. There's a crossover between income tax and high-income people over towards the corporate tax sector, and they often evade taxation by that means.
And we're not going to leave people behind. We're going to make sure that our people and our kids have decent jobs, decent education, decent health care, that the food we eat is healthy.
when we spend almost as much on defense as the rest of the world combined, the time is long overdue for us to take a hard look at the waste, at the cost overruns, at the financial mismanagement that have plagued the Department of Defense for decades.
It doesn't make us more secure. It doesn't make the world more secure. This is a weapon of mass destruction. This is a weapon of indiscriminate death to millions of people if it is ever used.
You have a situation where Hamas is sending missiles into Israel. And I'm trying to... Look, if you don't, excuse me, shut up.
Why did you call Hamas and Hezbollah your friends?
What I did was spoke at a meeting in which I said I wanted all people involved in the Middle East issue to come together and be able to have a discussion, to be able to discuss. Can you allow me to finish? Do you mind?
Yeah, but I asked her a question and you're ignoring it.
No, I'm not ignoring the question. If you'd give me a minute, I'll answer it. It's tabloid journalism and you know it.
That's kind of a synopsis of Bernie Sanders and Jeremy Corbyn, differences and similarities. And and basically, they talk about, and they did focus on some differences there too, as you can see. And as I said, this is a video that is, I'm not going to say this is a bashing Bernie video, but this is a pro Jeremy Corbyn video. I'll put it that way. But I will say this. There are conditions that both countries has, which made it so where Jeremy Corbyn ended up being Britain's better Bernie, and Bernie being quagmired in the American political exceptionalism that we are all having to endure daily. And what I mean by that is that we Americans have never experienced anything that smacks of what other nations call social democracy. Britain being an example. The closest thing we've ever done as far as getting closer to that would have been FDR's New Deal, LBJ's Great Society. No, I don't count Bill Clinton. I do not count Barack Obama. I do not count Joe Biden's presidency. Because a lot of what they done was to embrace soft Reaganomics, and while keeping being maybe socially liberal on a few issues, and that doesn't cut it for me. Some people will say, well, Tony Blair and Gordon Brown and Keir Starmer are just the British version of Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden. They sort of do occupy that spot, but I think that what makes it different is, and I don't support the Labor Party anymore, what I was saying right now, but what I'm saying is that the difference is, or was for many years, that the Labor Party and the Democratic Party differed in the sense that the Labor Party is a self-identified socialist party, whereas the Democratic Party was never meant to be one. It was never meant to be a Labor Party at all. And so during their best periods, the Labor Party did things for the British people, like provide a national health service in 1948. And things of that nature, provided the welfare state after World War II. And it was so fucking successful that the Tories didn't really mess with it too much until Thatcher came along. In the 1950s, Harold Macmillan, Tory prime minister, once campaigning, I forgot the year he campaighed, but his slogan was, "You never had it so good." and it was a left-handed compliment to the reforms that was done by Clement Attlee's labor government after World War II. Now, this is not to say that Clement Attlee was perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Great Britain was an early member and played a role in the creation of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, something that is actually a blemish to labor's legacy. So, again, there are things you could say that are positive and some negatives that you could say. They're supportive to this day of the Trident nuclear sub, and that was going back. I think they were opposed to it for years, but I think that during the Blair years they became supportive of it. Maybe even during the Neil Kinnock years, but I'm kind of meandering and all of that, but I'm just trying to give y'all a background on where things are standing with Jeremy Corbyn. 2015, he became the leader of the British Labour Party, which was very positive at that time because with the Labour Party taking a turn to the right during the days of Tony Blair and Gordon Brown, and David Miliband was the leader for a while. I think that's his name. The party just took a turn to the right in the way that Bill Clinton shifted the Democrats to the right. And when he became leader of the Labour Party, referring to Jeremy Corbyn, the party started to go inch back toward the left. And there was a lot of controversy about him. And a lot of smears that took place against Jeremy Corbyn. And unfair, vicious smears they were. Now, over here in this side of the Atlantic, around the same time, 2015, Hillary Clinton, who was continuing the tradition of Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, who would herself be a Conservative Party member in Great Britain, same with Barack Obama, same with Bill Clinton, same with Joe Biden. She ran for president in 2016. Bernie Sanders, as an independent, stepped into the Democratic primaries to challenge Hillary Clinton. And I think that he didn't think that it was really going. I think he thought it was going to be a rather symbolic campaign, but he started gaining traction. And Bernie movement's dead today, but a lot of us are here in this space because of Bernie. Jen Perlman said it last week, that what Bernie has done overall was a net positive. And I would argue that. I would not argue that Bernie Sanders is going to be the reason why we are all going to end up being some socialist utopia or some social democratic welfare state. We don't know if we're ever going to get there. But if we end up getting there, he probably should get partial credit, but not total credit. And people who are angry with Bernie Sanders has every right to be. I will say it's not 100% his fault, but I will also say that Bernie Sanders he needed to have a little more backbone to push back against the Democratic Party. I mean, it's all well and good to attack the Republicans. I'm all for that, but the Democrats got plenty to account for too. And that's the thing right there. But I will say this: Jeremy Corbyn endorsed Bernie Sanders when he ran in 2016, 2020. So they're I don't know if they've ever actually met in person, but I will say this: that there is a correlation between the two. And so and there are differences between the two. One noticeable difference between Bernie Sanders and Jeremy Corbyn, and this video is about Jeremy Corbyn, so we're going to stop talking so much about Bernie Sanders here. But one big difference between Jeremy Corbyn and Bernie Sanders is that Jeremy Corbyn is a lifelong anti-Zionist. And Bernie Sanders was always a Zionist, even to this day. Partly out of tradition, partly out of circumstances of the times, partly out of where the left was at when Israel was formed, its connection. But Bernie Sanders is a Zionist, and that's probably the biggest difference. He's not a toxic style one like most neocons and most assholes in Washington, D.C., but he is one, and that's problematic in itself. One could forgive him in 1965 for being one, because that's where the left was at the time. But there's no reason for the left to support Israel today. But that's probably the one big issue where Bernie Sanders and Jeremy Corbyn differ the most by today. But where they're extremely similar is, Bernie Sanders was fighting for civil rights in the 1960s, just as by the 70s and early 80s, Jeremy Corbyn was getting arrested protesting against apartheid in South Africa, that sort of thing. So with no further ado, let's go ahead and what I'm going to do here is we're going to do a brief history of labor leader Corbyn, and that will give you a little more of a synopsis of about his life. And I'm saying this like none of y'all know who he was or who he is, but it's important, for first timers if they're not familiar. So here we go.
Well, there's a will, there's a way, kind of beautiful. And every night has a state so magical. And if there's love in this life, there's no obstacle that can't be defeated. For every tyrant, a tear for the vulnerable. In every loss, so the bones of a miracle. For every dreamer, a dream.
Everybody in the world has a chance today to say no.
Monday left me broken. Tuesday I was through with hoping. Wednesday
we should be announcing that we're not replacing Trident at all, and that we're starting steps towards getting rid of nuclear weapons altogether.
Gradually, the opinion of people in this country is questioning the whole role of a hereditary head of state.
I feel very, very sad that it's a Labour Prime Minister that does so much now to undermine the principles of the National Health Service.
It's going to be different and it's going to be better.
Yeah, that's basically a quick synopsis of Jeremy Corbyn. And the thing about Jeremy Corbyn is that he's, as I said, he is also a lifelong socialist, that he opposed a lot of the shit that Tony Blair was proposing in the 1990s and early 2000s when he was the prime minister. So, the third way, and like, for example, in the 1990s, Tony Blair thought it was a good idea, and he did, and something that even Margaret Thatcher would not dare do, and that was to initiate what was called private finance initiatives into the National Health Service. That's what Blair did. And what private finance initiative was basically to have private companies and firms and various for-profit companies that work in medical care in the private sector to come in and contract and work within inside the NHS for so-called efficiency. And it was a way to start to privatize, and it was something that should have never been done. Now, ironically, at the same time, Tony Blair did put a lot of money into the NHS in areas which remain public, and it was, but it was very crazy to do this sort of thing. When you vote for Labour in the UK, one of the reasons you're going to be voting for Labour is to have a robust national health service. And what does it say? That you're living in the UK and your NHS was shabbier under a Labour government than it was under Margaret Thatcher's government, that was actually privatizing the fuck out of everything in that country that should have never been touched. So, she was smart enough to realize what the American nightmare would be like if it was, imposed on Great Britain. But the thing about it is that just like the Democrats ending up co-opting some Republican ideas that Republicans are too scared to do, because if they do it, there'll be pushback. Somehow, when Democrats do it here in the United States, they can end up getting away with it. And I think that's kind of what happened in the UK under Labour. And strangely enough, when Brexit came about, and this was around the time Jeremy Corbyn was the leader of the Labour Party, and he was, I believe, he was on what you would call a soft Brexit supporter. You had, and it was, you had basically people who were like very pro Brexit, and the most people thought it was a right wing idea to be pro Brexit, when it was not really. I mean, there were people on the right that supported Brexit, majority perhaps, but there was a group of people on the left that supported Brexit too. In fact, it was called, nicknamed Lexit for the left who were for Brexit. It was, or some people also call it the Labour Leave campaign. And there were people inside and outside the Labour Party on the left that were in support of this. Jeremy Corbyn being one of them. What's his name? George Galloway being another. So there was that. Now I could quickly compare Jeremy Corbyn to George Galloway, and I overall like George Galloway. I like Moats, mother of all talk shows. A few little issues I disagree with George Galloway, but I overall think he's a decent person. He's a little more socially conservative than I like for someone to be, but I have to understand his age situation, and and he grew up Roman Catholic, and he had a couple of Muslim wives who are also socially conservative. So that's kind of where, that's where the social conservatism is. However, he's a far better person than any Tory or any really run-of-the-mill Labour MP. But, I would say I like Jeremy Corbyn better, because Jeremy Corbyn ideologically is the real deal. But getting back to Brexit, he was labeled like a soft Brexit person. And I think it was in 2019, the election, how they were able to, after Brexit was voted in, and how Britain kind of weaseled its way out, was when Boris Johnson was running for, it was him and Corbyn. What he did is he went back and kind of did a reverse of what Tony Blair did. Boris Johnson, what was perceived as a right-wing figure. A lot of people call him Britain's Trump in a lot of ways, except that he's smarter than Trump and not as right-wing by comparison, because comparing British conservatives to American conservatives, a lot of British conservatives would be liberal Democrats here in the United States in many ways. But having that said, he campaigned by bribing the British people, saying, if we could just kind of stick with not really doing this hard break of Brexit and basically, staying within the confines of the European Union, I will end austerity, basically pump money into the NHS, pump money into the welfare state and everything. And it was basically, he was scared by how well Jeremy Corbyn did in the 2017 election against Theresa May, where the Labour Party made a massive comeback under Jeremy Corbyn. I was very fearful in 2017 that it was going to be a 1983 like disaster, that it was going to be a disastrous defeat like Michael Foot's defeat in 1983. And if y'all ever get a chance, look up Michael Foot. He was the leader of the Labour Party from 80 to 83. No, I mean, he did well, even though he was defeated. He didn't garner enough MPs to form a government, and Theresa May had to form a government with a right-wing party in Northern Ireland called the Democratic Unionist Party. And I want to talk about that for a moment, because Jeremy Corbyn, who's a lifelong supporter of the Palestinian cause, was smeared as an anti-Semite for supporting the Palestinians. It's a story that keeps happening over and over. You're on the left. You're concerned about human rights against the Palestinians being caused by Israel. And the moment you talk about their human rights being violated, you're calling anti-Semite. And so there's a lot of people that believes that Jeremy Corbyn is an anti-Semite when he's not. He's anything but. And some people were so scared about that they pressured Theresa May into forming a coalition government with the Democratic Unionist Party of Northern Ireland. Let me tell you about the Democratic Unionist Party of Northern Ireland. It's a small party that was created by Ian Paisley, who left the Presbyterian Church to form his own church, because he thought there was too much Roman influence within the Presbyterian Church. It became, the Free Presbyterian Church of Northern Ireland. And he felt like that the Pope was the Antichrist. He was a vicious anti-Catholic bigot, anti-LGBTQ, and he considers himself British, even though he was Irish. Anti-Catholic. He wore the collar. He wore the vestments, just like, most Roman Catholic priests and most Anglicans. But he was a bigot toward the Catholic Church. And he felt like Catholics in Northern Ireland needed to be treated like third-class citizens, simply because they were Catholic, or they were loyal to the idea of Ireland becoming a free country, like Northern Ireland reuniting with the Republic of Ireland. And so he died. I forgot when he died, but no, the only way he could form a government, it was to form an alliance with the Democratic Unionist Party of Northern Ireland. But where you find anti-Catholic bigotry, and when you find anti-LGBTQ bigotry, I promise you, you will also find anti-Jewish bigotry lurking around the corners. So anybody who wants to sit there and say Jeremy Corbyn is a bigot, and I don't think that Theresa May is anti-Catholic and anti-LGBTQ, but she formed an alliance with the Democratic Unionist Party of Northern Ireland to go and to quote unquote save Great Britain from the heavy hands of socialism by Jeremy Corbyn. And that brings us to what happened next. And that was Jeremy Corbyn getting ousted out of the Labour Party and Keir Starmer taking over. I like to call him asshole. I'm talking about Keir Starmer. So this is from 2019, and I would say that this was the swan song for them. They really have no right to sing this song anymore in the Labour Party since they kicked out their best man from the Labour Party.
The people's flag is deepest red, it's shrouded of our martyred dead, and their limbs grew stiff back home, their hearts blood died its every foe. Then raised the scarlet standard high, beneath its shade we live and die. Cowards flinch, traitors steer, we keep the red flag flying here. With heads uncovered, to bear it onwards till we fall. Companions or gallows grim, this song shall be our parting hymn. Then raise the scarlet standard high, beneath its shade we live and die. Cowards flinch, traitors sneer, we keep the red flag flying here.
Okay, that was from 2019. That was from 2019, and not shortly afterwards he was kicked out of the Labour Party, and last year, 2024, with the election, he ran as an independent in the Islington North constituency, and there was a Labour candidate running against him, but he was not allowed to run as a Labour candidate in the Islington North constituency, which is in London, where he lived. And he was able to win that seat back on his own. So today, Jeremy Corbyn sits in Parliament as an independent socialist MP, and I am so glad that he did. And I mean, just to irritate people like Keir Starmer, who's this is a term you don't hear Americans use, but I'll use it here in British English, who's an utter and complete bastard. A bleeding bastard at that. Outright dead wanker. I like using those terms. I like cursing in British English, by the way. Suffice to say, I wanted to go and go into this next story here about Jeremy Corbyn, and this is from a little while back. Let me see. Yeah, about 2 weeks ago, he was interviewed under caution by police after a pro-Palestine rally. So that's what I want to play right now, and I'll comment afterwards. It was breaking 2 weeks ago, but somehow I just missed the story when it happened.
To be kicking off, and now it turns out that Jeremy Corbyn is going to have to be interviewed by the police for his behaviour at the pro-Palestine march this weekend. Now, before we go into the detail of it, let's just give you a flavour of what this peaceful protest looked like. Looks really peaceful, very civilised.
Yeah, these cops are assholes.
No misbehaviour to be seen here. So there you go. That gives you a quick flavour of what it was like at the weekend. Of course, that's not representative of every single protester that was out there, but that will seem like quite a contrast to the comments from Jeremy Corbyn that you will see. So let's just take a look at what is going on. Why on earth is Jeremy Corbyn being interviewed by the police? So he's agreed to be interviewed under caution after the rally yesterday, as well as the ex-Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell. The both of them seem to be in hot water, and they are in trouble for allegedly coordinating efforts to cause disruption. And let's have a look at exactly what disruption they may have been causing. So, as you know, we all have a right to protest in this country, but the Metropolitan Police, they are allowed to put specific restrictions in place, saying you must follow this route, you must not go to this area, etc., etc. So they had imposed measures to prevent the protesters from forming in the vicinity of a synagogue. Seems fairly reasonable. And they had to follow a specific route to Whitehall. And they allegedly were at times not following that route. So Corbyn, he was photographed delivering a speech to pro-Palestine protesters, saying he will not rest until Palestine is free. And you then saw Scotland Yard putting up posts describing the situation, and Jeremy Corbyn is not happy with that description. He said, "This is not an accurate description of events at all. I was part of a delegation of speakers who wished to peacefully carry and lay flowers in memory of children in Gaza who had been killed. This was facilitated by the police. We did not force our way through. When we reached Trafalgar Square, we informed police that we would go no further, lay down flowers and disperse." So you see there, he says, we did not force our way through, acting as though everybody was acting peacefully. But you've just seen from that video I showed you that it seemed very clear that there were at least some individuals who were forcing their way through a police cordon. Now, I'll show you the video that we don't have, all the evidence we need, but what we have of Jeremy Corbyn. So we've got this video here, which I will show you. So there he is, you can see him there in the crowd.
Move back, please, move back. Make room, move back. Move back. Keep moving.
So there we go. So we saw Jeremy Corbyn there, stood behind that banner, and there were a whole load of people behind that banner. It did look as if there were a bunch of police trying to stop them from going further, and they were sort of edging their way forwards, trying to, with their banner, push their way through. Not that Jeremy Corbyn there was as crazy as the lot in the first video by any means, sort of getting into fights with the police, but it did look like he was pushing his way through. Now, can't tell for sure exactly what was happening there, but that is what we know so far. Of course, he'll be interviewed, and we will see, I'm sure, in the near future if he is in any trouble after that interview. But yeah, it all seems to be crazy. Even over a year on from the start of the war between Israel and Gaza, they still seem to be out there every single Saturday. Let's see now that we've got a ceasefire that has just started now today, if these lot will continue to go out on a Saturday because they've got nothing better to do and they've made Gaza their entire personality and they will continue to do so, or will they move on to the next bandwagon? Maybe they'll all be out talking about Ukraine against next Saturday. Who knows with these lot? Anyway, that's your latest update. I'm Chloe Dobbs. Thanks very much for watching.
And all I have to say about that is I saw what happened with the encampment here in the United States and the police cracking down violently on the students. And, you know, the British police are likely doing the same thing. And they have a way to try to discredit protesters these days. That's what's being done. Every time, every several months, every few weeks, you hear about a new protest here in the United States, and they try to find a way to demonize the protesters as if the protesters are the problem instead of the injustice itself. I really doubt that Jeremy Corbyn was trying to orchestrate some kind of a violent insurrection, inciting violence against the law enforcement there. I really doubt it. He is a lifelong pacifist. I doubt it. I very much doubt it. But this is what these people will do. They'll try to find a way and they'll twist it around and try to make it sound like that these people are the ones that are the problem. Instead, that's how they will do this sort of thing. And so anyway, I just find it absolutely distasteful on how these people like to sit there and attack somebody who I think is a decent person, a decent man, Jeremy Corbyn. Now thing is, another difference between Jeremy Corbyn and Bernie Sanders is that Jeremy Corbyn is a street activist. He's willing to go to protests, whereas Bernie don't. I mean, it is a psychology of a different country. So, it's not really all that uncommon, maybe. But I will say this. One of the reasons when she was on the left here in the United States, before she decided to dick suck Donald Trump's tiny penis, referring to Tulsi Gabbard, when she was supposedly on the left and fooling people like myself, he would not shut the fuck up about about Julian Assange. One of the things I liked about her at that time is she was a passionate supporter of Julian Assange. And when Julian Assange was free last year, she barely mentioned it. It was like maybe a tweet like, Julian Assange is free, isn't that cool? That's basically it was, because she knew that if she was a little loud about Julian Assange, that some of her new pals in the Republican Party would be upset. Now, Bernie Sanders, I don't think I've ever heard Bernie Sanders say a damn thing about Julian Assange. He may have. If he had, I stand corrected. Now, I didn't hear him say anything about Julian Assange being freed last year. So that's also something to hold against him in that regard. On the other hand, in the UK, Jeremy Corbyn was able to do that, to talk about the issue referring to Julian Assange, which is why I'm going to go and play this here real quick, and I'll conclude. It's like 2 more videos. Okay. I think this is it. Here we go. He apparently visited Julian Assange at Belmarsh Prison. So,
along with Jeremy Corbyn, we've just been to visit Julian Assange here at Belmarsh. It's been a cathartic experience, and it kind of just brings home the unbelievable injustice that is being perpetrated against Julian at the moment. Nearly 5 years he's been incarcerated here for doing absolutely nothing. He's innocent. The only thing he's ever been guilty of is telling the truth, talking truth to power. And it is shocking. We must keep the campaign up for justice until he is released.
I've been honoured to have a chance with Len today to spend an hour or so with Julian Assange. I've got huge admiration for him, for his skills and as an investigative journalist. And as Len said, his only crime is to tell the truth. He told the truth about what power does to some of the poorest and most vulnerable people on this planet, the corruption that comes from it, and the evils of the way in which people, wholly innocent individuals, wholly innocent civilians, are killed in wholly unnecessary conflicts. And I want to just say thank you to Julian for all he's done. And we assured him of our determination to continue all the campaigning that's necessary to see that happy day when Julian finally walks out of prison as a free man so that he can continue using his brilliant brain to help bring about a more just and more peaceful world.
And I'll play one more, and then I'll conclude. One moment here. All right, give me a second. Yeah, this is from. I was in Washington D.C. when this happened on this day. And that was I was at a Julian Assange event called, for Julian Assange to protest against the extradition. So I was on this side of the Atlantic, kind of doing my tiny little part. But here is Jeremy Corbyn talking about why Julian Assange should be freed.
This is London.
Obviously, most people know about WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. Julian Assange is the founder of WikiLeaks, and he's basically been persecuted for 11 years for telling us truths about war crimes, about human rights abuses, about political scandals, about environmental pollutions, which previously weren't being disclosed. That, of course, has angered a lot of people. The corrupt people have been persecuting and have been after Julian Assange for the last 11 years. He spent 7 years with political asylum in the Ecuadorian embassy, actually in London, just behind Harrods. Then he was illegally dragged out by the British police and put in prison. He's never harmed anybody. He's only ever published truthful documents. He's been nominated 11 times for the Nobel Peace Prize and continues to win awards for journalism, yet our country torture him in a maximum security prison in East London.
Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian
We're trying to impress on the parliamentarians and on the judges who are deciding whether or not to hear Julian's extradition appeal, and on general public that this is an absolutely vital freedom of expression, freedom of press case. In fact, the most important freedom of press case of this century. And in order to do that, we hope that we develop a striking and original form of protest. We're going to have a human chain which circles all the way around Parliament, over Westminster Bridge, over Lambeth Bridge, along the South Bank, so that we can show the depth of feeling about this issue of Parliament.
We're going to start forming the chain now, even though the official assembly time is 1 o'clock. So this banner, the Assange banner that you can see being unfolded behind me, that's going to lead the way over, and we're going to start the chain at the Cromwell statue. So if you want to head over there now and follow this banner, that would be absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
People are here, supporters from all over the world, in fact. There are people here from Germany, people here from Belgium, people here from Sweden, people here from France. I was flyering yesterday at the LSE, London School of Economics, with 5 young German students.
Free Assange, drop the charges, no extradition. they are showing ordinary people their determination to stand up for free speech, stand up for journalism and free Julian Assange. Journalism is not a crime. Extradite Julian Assange. Every serious journalist anywhere in the world is at risk, and we are all at risk.
All the mainstream newspapers actually, just for once, send the pictures, send the story, and show that there is actually a grassroots movement of tens of thousands across this country who do stand by and stand with and stand up for Julian Assange.
You're dumb that you cannot speak, we say free Julian Assange.
And the thing is, I actually got one more tiny one. Let's see, I forgot about that one. I actually played that one a couple of years ago. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Were you to blame for Labour's anti-Semitism problem, Mr. Corbyn?
Sorry?
Were you to blame for Labour's anti-Semitism problem, Mr. Corbyn? Do you accept that Labour was unsafe
never mind.
for Jewish people under your watch?
Sorry, that was something else. I was confused with another video. Sorry about that. So basically, as I said, Britain's better Bernie. That's what I call him. That's partly why I call him Britain's better Bernie, and for many reasons more. Again, I know with Bernie, it's the Overton window. The Democratic parties where progressive ideas die. There's that. He hit a brick wall. I don't necessarily think he was trying to tap into young radical energy and have them, sheep herd people into the Democratic Party. But I do think he hit a brick wall. And in that regard, I think he could have fought back more. And this is not even this is not even a slam against Bernie Sanders, but if Bernie Sanders is listening, I want to say this: fuck your good friend Joe Biden. Fuck Joe Biden, your good friend. Fuck him to hell. I mean, seriously. Fuck Joe Biden. So that's the thing right there. I mean, I needed to get that out of my chest. If there's one thing that probably made me angriest about him is talking about his good friend. Joe Biden is not my good friend. He's a piece of shit. I'm going to suffer because of Trump, but it's Joe Biden is at fault. And all the fucking Democrats that were so scared of Bernie in 2020. So, but anyway, Britain has a fighting chance that America doesn't have. And and any good that's going to happen in Britain in the future, Jeremy Corbyn will be there to take credit for this. And so that's pretty much what I have to say. Let's see who we have here on the chat line. We have Desert Mantis. Hey, hi, Kate, Max, Uncle Warren. That's funny. Wasn't Jeremy half of the duo, Chad and Jeremy? Different Jeremy. Both, yeah, they're British, but different Jeremy. I barely recognize Jeremy Corbyn with brown hair. Yeah, I know what you mean. I've always known Jeremy Corbyn with the gray hair, but when looking back in his life, I was like, oh, that's a younger Jeremy Corbyn. I remember when I first saw a younger Woody Allen. I mean, it was a younger Bernie Sanders. It's like, damn, he looks like Woody Allen. Let's see. Hello, fam. Happy weekend. Hey, Game.film. How are you? Let's see. any new people here. Miguel, I saw you like from earlier, and I hope you're doing well. And so anyway, I that's pretty much what I have to say here. I'm going to do a video at probably at 11 o'clock tonight. I have one scheduled at 9:30, but I'm going to probably do that one tomorrow if that's okay with you guys. Anyway, I just wanted to say that if you like what you heard, please press like and comment. Comment any ways you disagree with what I have to say. Feel free to share the contents on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it because we're, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. I will say this. Subscribe to the Willie Bragg Show on all my platforms. Reject corporate media. Free and pardon Edward Snowden. Free Palestine. Free healthcare for all. For our own damn preservations as activists. Let's protect free speech at all costs. And until next time, fuck Elon Musk. Y'all take care. Have a good night.